TV, anybody's favorite co-host is back, Ken Bingham. How you doing, Ken?
Hey, I'm doing good, Clint. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Another exciting ZDTV week. We have a office. Oops. Let me throw the old share up. Put the share my screen.
I need to know what I'm signing up for.
Windows. Oh, you know what you're doing here. Share the screen. Boom. Bing bang. Office hours and working session. So
Oh, a Snumblefest.
yeah, I enjoy being put on blast by the internet for my terrible coding challenges and skills. So, by all means, if you watch us and see something entertaining, fire in the chat. Also here for an office hours session, meaning if you have any particular burning questions which you'd like to have answered by me or maybe Ken, or maybe we can get somebody else on the ZDTV team to either pop in or answer our question, then cool. Not ZDTV, OpenZD team. Or ZRock too, right? Like any of those, any of the above. Anyway, Ken, what I had in mind for the ZDTV is a working session where I actually deploy a environment in hello, get a hi from chat, love it, where we deploy an environment and make it work with Let's Encrypt backed certificates. That was something that happened just this week. A person out there is really taking OpenZD for a real nice ride and was doing a whole bunch of stuff and wanted a vanity URL or whatever for their overlay network, and went to configure alternative server certs and was confused that it didn't work out. And I was also confused as to why it didn't work out. I thought this would be an educational one. You and I talked just a tiny bit about this today on our little daily call
Yeah,
that
we
we
talked
have.
about the what, but we didn't talk so much about the why. And I actually I have a legitimate, a genuine question. I really don't know, outside of browser, which is our web-based uh, client for ZD, why you would really need third-party verifiable certs for the ZD controller
That
API.
is a fantastic question. And the little piece of that which you added in there that I think is very relevant is need. Do you need a third party verifiable PKI chain in any of the OpenZD componentry? And
Yeah,
of course,
what's the real value of that?
well, I think that is going to be like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder, right? So realistically, when it comes down to the way OpenZD works itself, as you know, it's perfectly happy having a verifiable PKI. It doesn't have to be independently verifiable. It doesn't have to be distributed to browsers. Like you
Hmm.
just have to bootstrap your trust correctly using the quick start or configuring it yourself using the ZDPKI, making that happen. And then once you've created your PKI, we'll listen to him. What's the dog name? We'll say hi.
That would be Sir Edgar Allan Puggle.
It's nice. Sir Edgar Allan Puggle.
Puggle.
Nice. So, yeah, you don't need independently verifiable PKI, but there are two things where it might be nice. If you ever were to use the API that surrounds the OpenZD controller, like you are a developer and you want to use our REST-based API or HTTP-based API, when you create the client that attaches to that controller, generally speaking, you're going to have to either do the dirty, which is what every developer does, of don't bother verifying the PKI chain, right? Like it's fine that this is a self-signed certificate when you make your client, or you'll end up having to go get the actual CA from the controller and use the actual bundle that the controller provides. Of course, that's a better way of going about it. However, I mean, I'm a developer and I know developers, and there's a real good chance I'm just gonna be perfectly happy without verifying my trust chain. So having a third party independently verifiable trust chain could make sense when it comes to automating the overlay. Now, at the same time, OpenZT has the whole idea of splitting the API from one particular listener to another particular listener. And so if you do split the API, the only API that will be available to the internet would be the client API, the one that is basically read only, that
Right.
that does require you to have mutual TLS, and so the if the use of it is diminished dramatically at that point. But that's like the only good reason I can think of that one might want to have a legitimately verifiable CA.
All right. So kind of working backwards from that rationale, if you're splitting the API between management and non-management, then your management API could be on a web listener that has a third-party verifiable cert from Let's Encrypt, and that wouldn't affect your enrollment at all because the
No, it
client
would.
API could still be using, well, the client API could be on a different web listener with the non-third party, the regular built-in PKI.
We could try it out and see what happens. Like that's
But if
actually a
so
very
it's
interesting scenario. I didn't even consider it, but yeah,
right. So
that sounds like it would work.
yeah, but we're talking about the value of it in the context of not splitting the API. So we have a combined client and management API, which is the default, I believe. You have a single web listener choosing the
Yep.
default identity. So in that case, yeah, you're going to encounter the unverifiable cert in a couple of situations. Like the first time that you use the Ziti CLI, if you haven't bootstrapped that trust, if you haven't done that extra preliminary step to bootstrap the trust, then you're stuck with trust on first use or just trust blindly. And if you are working on an implementation of the management API, which the Ziti CLI uses, then you have the same problem.
Yeah, yeah, and hilariously enough, this week I've been working through some changes to the .NET SDK and trying to bring it up to grade, and I was trying to add tests to it, and I thought, hey, it would be fun if I actually consumed our management spec, which the
I
OpenZD.
wondered if you did that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I did. And in fact, it was shockingly difficult and at the same time shockingly easy to. I was told, I tried to put Windows into focus mode and I just got a notification. So I'm gonna have to close this. It
So
was
one of those
shockingly easy.
momentum. Once you got it rolling, you did a lot of work
No,
for
no, it was
you to use the spec.
once you found the right piece of documentation in Microsoft's cavalcade of documentation, it it worked relatively well. I'm again, it's a working session, so I'm happy to show you like that little You want to do that? Let's do that. So let's go back and we'll do this. I want you to give me your email and any number to contact you. I don't know if that's a joke, but you can contact us over at the discourse. https://discourse group. I think it's openzd.discoursegroup.com, right? Let's put that into the browser. That is not right. What is the actual discourse channel? There it is. You can reach us at the discourse. It's probably the best place. All right, so cool. Let's see. We were going to look at, where are we? We were going to look at what I was doing in Visual Studio. Yeah. So basically, what I'd done is, I also had ChatGPT open because who's not using ChatGPT nowadays, right? Like, I'll have to ask it questions. But I wanted to know how to consume an Open API spec. And I think I had said .NET instead. So, you get a whole bunch of stuff that's like this out there. I'm going to make that a little bit embiggered. There it is. Let me see if it's legible. Yeah. So I went out here, I did the Google, and I found, consume an API spec, blah, blah, blah. And I landed at this thing. Where did I put the generator? It was called the Open API Generator CLI. I landed at this thing.
Yeah, I was looking at the different outputs that one has earlier to see if it had it, and I noticed it has C sharp net core. Is that the one you used?
We'll see what I used in a minute, but yeah. So this is first of all, I came here, and I'm now remind you, I'm doing .NET work at this moment, and so I wanted something that was in .NET, right? Like I didn't want to, as you can find, like the first thing I saw is Maven Central, Anybody who doesn't know, Maven is a dependency manager for basically Java. It's not a dependency manager for .NET. So I was like, oh, that's a little weird. And then I kept coming down. I saw a Gradle plugin, and I saw download the jar, and I went, wow, this is not C# specific. It's actually a tool written in Java that will let you convert a open API specification into your language of choice. And then there's a whole bunch of, like you said, there's a whole bunch of them in here. Where does it say which ones it supports?
Well, that's getting the generator itself, but then it has a bunch of outputs for many languages.
Yeah, there you go, right here. Here are all the API clients that it supports. You know, C++, C#, all kinds of them. So I tried using that, and so there's actually, you know, if you look at my,
Is there
here's my
one specifically that named .NET?
here's my terminal window. Here's what let me make it bigger. Here's what I ran: generate C#,
C sharp.
and then management YAML out to, I thought it was going to make a C# file. You know, who wants to read the doc, right? Like what it really does is it makes a directory called my.cs. And so,
Yeah.
oh, I'm in it. You can see I'm
It
actually in
depends
it
on
right
the
there.
language what it does.
Oh, that would be even worse. I would hope not. I would hope that it's consistent at least. Anyway, this was a failure path. I didn't like this. I
Well, some
used the Open
languages it makes a
API.
boilerplate project, and others it gives you a library or a module. Just depends on the language frameworks available.
Have you used it?
Yeah, I've used a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool. So we have Paul watching. Look at this. Paul says he used it. Paul, by the way, one of the OpenZT members, has been on the OpenZT TV here before. He used it to generate bindings for Rust, and it worked gratifyingly well. Love it. Well, it didn't work out for me so hot. I wasn't all that. I mean, I didn't give it too long. I literally just did this moments ago and was fumbling my way through it. And I was like, man, this isn't really what I was after. So that was when I did a nice little search, and that was the first one I did. Consume spec from. I changed it to Visual Studio. This was the magical prompt that
Hmm.
let me get to the correct place in the Microsoft documentation that shows you how to add and this isn't the right one either, but it shows you how to add a reference to a service. Where is it? Well, maybe it wasn't the right one. I don't even know now. That's not important. I'll show you how I did it though. Not here.
I haven't
Is
worked
it?
with C# or .NET. Did you choose C# as the output because there's a relationship between that and .NET?
.NET is a broad term for the technology Microsoft produces, which is basically compiled code into an interpreted language. So they call it MSIL, the Microsoft Interpreted Language, of which there are numerous source languages that will compile down into that. C# is one, F# is one, Visual Basic .NET is one, for example. So there are C# is just a specification, and C# is a way of taking C# and turning it into MSIL. And so that's what .NET stands for in the whole. It means a language. It means an executable that can be, well, not even an executable. It means a representation of your compiled code that can be run by an interpreted engine of sorts, like the .NET runtime. So in Linux, you can do all this stuff now too. And then to get more confusing, you'll start talking about .NET and .NET Core and .NET Framework and .NET 7. I like Microsoft has done a really bang up job of making it confusing. But basically, you just say .NET now, and you wave your hands, and and you imply any or all of the above. So I went to here, and what was great is you can just right click and you can choose add a service reference. And when you do that, you'll see Open API pops right up immediately. And you can also see I've done this, and I have used my management YAML that I grabbed off of our documentation site, or off of actually this one's off the CloudFront Git OpenZT thing. When I did this worked smashingly well. Like I was quite pleased with this one because it ended up emitting actually it emits a file that you can't find, which I don't love. Right, this is part of the Microsoft and Visual Studio type things. But in here, there is now a hidden C# file that you can find if you go into the management API. You can see it's management client.cs, and you can see it's put into this OBJ folder and totally obscured from you. You can't find it. It's just there. And what was nice about that was now, and this is where I was starting to log in. Trying to actually log into things. You can now go through and create a login and try to actually use it. And I'm surprised I don't have my. I probably did already. Yeah. All right. I'm going to leave that off the screen. I don't know if anybody caught that or not, but I'm going to have to go back and change my password now.
So is this the boilerplate it provided, or is this a where you're beginning to call the thing that it created the reference?
So this, and let me go to the top of this. This is the boilerplate it provides, right? This is the output of consuming the Open API specification into C Sharp. And you can see, it did a pretty good job, and it's still going. It's 27,000 lines of C Sharp that it output. I mean, it's a big
Okay.
API, right?
So you get a bunch
So
of classes that represent all the different operations you can do,
exactly, and
or
so
models
if
rather.
yep, and so if you look, this is in management APIs in OpenZD dot generated, I think I called it dot, and then so here
There you
are
go.
all the little classes that it allows you, and you can see there's a bunch of them.
Sure.
And so then I had to figure out, where do I get my, and this is where interesting idiosyncrasies of generators and compile and Open API specifications come up. Like the output of the authenticate function is a current API session detail envelope, right? It's not like the
Okay.
authenticate. That's just because of how generators work. It just generates some big class name. And so then you take that, and what I was trying to do is I was trying to add that ZD session into my header and then call it again.
Hmm.
And that's where I'm at. And this is as far as I got.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that was a tirade on somewhat unrelated topic. I think I was thinking about doing the quick start to Let's Encrypt stuff, and then just showing that work. What do you think? I think that's an
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
that's
that's kind of
achievable.
interesting. Yeah, I think that's the key. I think is achievable. Yeah. Let's see.
So to
Clear.
recap our goal, we want to have third-party verifiable server certs on the ZD API. Normally,
Okay.
that's not required from ZD's perspective, but it might be important for security or um, presentation.
It's strictly
On
not necessary. It
right,
is it is a convenience to
it's a
have it.
convenience.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to go out and I'm going to follow our quick start, which is docs. So, right, come on, where is it? Oh yeah, I got to remember what I'm clicking on when I click on these things. Quick starts. Again, I got to remember what I'm clicking on. Click, click, and I'm going to host it anywhere. Got a whole bunch of stuff I should read. I've already opened these firewalls. I'm going to just do this bit down here. I've got an external DNS set up on this machine, I think. Echo external DNS.
This is your VPS, and you've already
Yep.
got some environment variables set.
Yep. And I'm going to paste those in. And I'm going to actually change 8441 to 9441. 9441. Oh, no. Okay, good.
Why are you doing that?
I've already got one running on 8440. So that's that. And then I'm going to just run the express install. And then we're going to say no, and we're going to say ZDTV for a password. And all that exists. Interesting. I haven't tried having two installs at the same time.
You need to override ZD home.
Should set ZDenv. If I do that, then I have to go through and re-export all these things too. Can I bang like from one to the next? Like, can it go from 2004 to?
I'm not sure how to do a range of history.
That's
It
what I
was worth a
wanted.
try.
That's what I wanted to do.
You
I
could
wonder if you.
actually, yeah, you
If
could do
I
that with a little bashism. You could say you could
wondered if
create
I could
the.
do like. That's what I was going to try next, like this.
You might have to do an eval on that.
The 2 dots, 3 dots.
2 dots. You got 3 in there. Yeah.
Oh well.
Got to Yeah, you'd have to
Oh, I
escape the
can't.
bang and then do an eval on it, I think, to do that,
It's
to
a
do the
bummer.
range.
I'm just gonna go like this and
Yeah. Paste it
copy
again.
this and put it into a notepad.
Oh,
And
that's right. You edited all the
yeah,
numbers.
I'm gonna just keep it somewhere else in case I need to do this again. So there's that. Okay. And then I'm going to export Ziti home to be home/.zd.tv and then run express install. No. Well, which does paint dry? This doesn't take too terribly long. When it's done, it should give me a couple of things. Tell me what my password is and tell me how to log in and all that sort of stuff. Hopefully the firewall's open. It is. Yay. So now I'm going to start controller, start router, curl to localhost 9441. It'll fail and tell me it's not legitimate because that's what we want. Give it the -SK, so it'll quiet it, and then tell it not to check. And we have a controller that's up and running. So that's that. Now, I think I have a ZDTV dot open no, demo dot openZD.org.
Nope.
Should have done it short. You can see that so fast. I'm so impressed. I always have to scan through it and find it. What did I call this thing? It was out there. I was certain of it. Now I got to go look at Amazon Land and figure out what it is called. I know I have one out here. I'm going to do this on a different window. Just
After
going
you
to go
get the
to
cert set up, you won't even need the -K because your
yes,
operating system
exactly.
should trust the server cert.
Precisely. That's what we're going to try to, well, and we're going to have to change the URL. So have to change the curl as well. Right? All right. So we do have, oh, ZDTV.
Unless you
What did
update
dot
the
demo.
DNS to point to the right place.
What? That's out there. What's going on? ZDTV.demo.opencd.org. And it has an A record. Oh. Oh. Hey. That's the key. All right. And they're pointed already to the same place. That is very, very useful. And so here, let's see, we have Etsy. Where does Let's Encrypt put their certificates? Live. And ZDTV. Yay, we even have some certificates. Okay, cool. So I've already done the harder work of running cert bot. Well, actually, we'll see if these things are even still live. They very well might not be because Let's Encrypt only makes them for 90 days.
True.
August 15th.
But if you set it up with certbot on this device, then it will automatically renew them.
It depends on how you set it up. I generally don't keep certbot running. I just run it once myself to get the certificates because I don't usually set it up for production. But that would be the kind of thing that a quick start to production guide would be wonderful to talk about. That, or we've seen people also using Caddy for offloading TLS. And so, or
It implements
Nginx,
Acme.
Caddy definitely does. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just provided a DNS solver and it can give you your wildcard cert or
No,
HTTP
no.
solver for
Yeah.
normal.
Yes. An HTTP solver. Yep.
It doesn't take DNS solvers.
I don't, maybe,
I bet it
maybe,
does.
I don't know, maybe. But usually when you're running Caddy, you're already standing something up that's already going to be on the open internet. So I don't know. It might. So DNS solver obviously is the, maybe not so obvious, is the alternative to HTTP based Let's Encrypt resolution. The Acme protocol lets you either prove that you own the DNS name, the DNS entry by DNS itself, by adding a text record, which is how I did it. So like if you do if you do star dot and you give it txt. Did I do that right?
And
Maybe not.
are you
No,
getting
it's
a wildcard cert or a specific cert?
this one's for a wildcard cert. Acme
Okay.
challenge.
Well, that's why you have to do the DNS solver for wildcard.
Yeah. I was just trying to illustrate the fact that I have done this already. Acme challenge. Why is that not coming through?
I don't think it's plus text. It's
Oh, it's just text.
dash t text or give it a txt at the end.
It's just txt. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. And then I put the short back on there. So I've already had to go through and prove that I owned this, so that Let's Encrypt would then issue me my certificates. So cool. All right, so to recap, we're going to make the OpenZT overlay network that we just provisioned have Let's Encrypt backed certificates. And so if we were to go to the Ziti TV folder now, and there'll be an IP.yaml in here. And so you can see it comes with alt server certs commented out. And that's just to show you where you could put alternative server certs. Alt server certs is a way of allowing the controller to deliver a secondary set of certificates, which is often useful for presenting two different domain names to the same IP address. And that works using subject naming SNI. What's the I stand for? Subject naming inference?
Indicator.
Indicator. That's what. Yeah. Server naming indicator. Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Indication. Server name indication. Yeah.
Cool. So that's nice because you can have you can have this server be known as two different types of servers. And so oftentimes what most people will do is they'll run the quick start like we just did, and then they'll come in here. Actually, let's make two windows, and I'll make this one down at the bottom. It's gonna stay small, so don't worry about that. But I just want to go to the Etsy Let's Encrypt live location again and get the full path because I am lazy and I don't want to type it all out. And so here we can insert. Then what's this? Private key and full chain. Full chain dot pem. This is the key, and we f that up, and then we do priv key dot pem. So when I do this, the control plane should be upgraded. And so if I were to curl, actually let's do open SSL s client connect to external DNS on port 8440. I'll connect right. That helps.
Is 8440 your router control plane?
Yeah, well, let's look, actually. Let's not even question that. Let's come in here. Oops, that's not the right one. IP YAML.
I'm not getting a TLS server cert on 9440.
Well, that's a good point. It'll be 9. But let's go. What I was looking for in here is I was looking for the controller's control plane that it's listening for. And it's because, actually, you're going to need to specify the ALPN on this connect. Do you actually remember how to do that? I don't remember how to
specify I know how to do it with S client.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay. It's just dash ALPN and then ZD dash CTRL.
ALPN ZD dash CRTL.
CTRL.
Thank you. Hey, there we go. And so now we'll do
say no
show
out, and then like dash subject would give you the
no out
common name.
Or no hyphen out.
No, oh, I'm thinking about X509. You'd have to pipe it to X509, but that would only show you the leaf.
Yeah, I just want to. So I generally
show search because you want the whole
I will generally do it this way, and so that we can see what it is valid for, right? And so This one we can see is using the internal PKI on port 9440. But I just changed it. So if I do a sudo, actually, can I pipe this to subject grep? There we go. That's a more clear result. So if I pipe it to subject, you'll see, or pipe it to grep, you can see the subject. And now if I stop the controller, and start the controller, and issue that same command, you'll see that it didn't do what I wanted it to do. Oh, yeah, it didn't work. Oh, it's because, is it because of SNI? Might be. I'm going to external DNS there.
You can
Yes.
provide the
No, it's SNI.
you can provide the SNI here in this with this command.
Yeah, no, the
You need
problem
to.
is I have provided so right now the controller is doing exactly what it should do. Because I have accessed the endpoint at EC2-3- whatever, it has returned to us the certificate that is valid from that particular domain name, or what it says is valid, which is this one right here. All right, so instead, we have to change the external DNS so that it is ZDTV, actually controller.zdtv.demo.openZD.org, and not with the export. It's supposed to be echo anyway. And when I do that, you'll see it's from Let's Encrypt and valid for zdtv.demo.openZD.org. So cool. So now we have an alternate server cert, but it is only for the control plane. We didn't do the API plane yet, or the management controller API. So I'll go back and I'll edit this file. I'm going to just copy this whole block. I'm going to go down to the web section inside of here, and I'm going to add these alternate server certs, just like that. Okay, and then I got to indent it correctly because YAML will complain. And then if I do the same clear and the same external DNS on 8441, well, 9441, it'll tell me alert number 80. What is that all about? Oh, it's not ZD controller here. What is there? I don't think a LPN is necessary on that one.
Which port are you going to?
Now I'm going to 9441.
Okay, that would be. I don't think that might be ZD-Edge. No, ZD-Edge is for the router ALPN.
Yeah, no, this is HTTP.
It's just H2 then.
H2.
If it's running over the same port, then you might have to send H2.
So interestingly
If
enough,
it's on a discrete port, then it should be unambiguous and not required.
yeah, and that's so. It's funny because for the API, we can see that it did not need the ALPN specified. The controller port did. So I think we got to talk to Andrew, and whatever he did for one listener, he's going to do for the other listener, which was when there's only one protocol at that port.
And it's not required.
It's supposed to not be required, but
That was my understanding
maybe
as well.
it might not be released yet. That might be coming in 30.4. So,
yeah,
all right.
That matches the time frame.
Yeah. So now let's do the same thing, but we'll go to controller.zdtv.openzd.demo.
And you can tell S-Client to... Oh, no, you can't. I'm thinking about X509 again. You'd have to pipe it. So, yeah, you're right.
What did I goof up this time?
Instead of demo.org, it's demo.openzd.org.
Thank you.
There was still an extra...
the OpenZD in the wrong place. Here we go. Hey, there it is. Those are wrong. That's what I expect, right? I did not restart the controller yet. So now I will stop the controller, start the controller. I will run that same command again, and we'll now see that it's from the right. Yep, from Let's Encrypt. And so there we did. We did it. Like that was far faster than I expected, but we're not quite done yet.
We're not quite done because you haven't enrolled anything.
Right. So let's do a ZD login. Let's see if it Cool.
Which it's worth mentioning that this next step is only required if you are doing client certificate authentication fingerprint enrollments.
List identities. Oh, one second here, Ken. I can't do this and think. You said a lot of words there that I don't quite
Yeah, it was
understand.
a few too many actually.
Let's do now list identities. There we go. All right. You said it's only required for.
Well, I know where you're going with this, and that's to make it possible to do enrollments. And
Right.
enrollments get you basically register a client certificate fingerprint with the controller. So it's not applicable if you're not doing that. If instead of enrollments you're using claims, for example, then it wouldn't be required.
Oh, yes. Well, then, yeah. I am shocked that that worked. Let's look at this JWT. Got burned. So let's make a new. Let's delete Ziti edge. Delete identity Bob. Let's make Bob again. Create Bob and let's VI Bob. It doesn't matter if I VI it or cat it, but I'm going to go to jwt.io. Over here. Paste it. Going
Okay,
to.
so
Oh, okay. That's what it is. Right.
that's
So
why.
that's why it
So the
works. Yep.
advertised address is still that. So it's still getting the correct pub key
That's
from
right.
the correct pub key from the server cert.
That's right. And so what happened in the discourse is we had a fella or lady, whatever person, who was out here and wanted to enable alternative server certs, and then because they either scanned through the config file or they saw this mentioned somewhere, they decided that they would change the address. The only time this is actually useful to change it is when you're looking at your tunneler, because like on my tunneler here,
What
if you look
address
at
is that?
identities, it shows up right here.
Oh, it's the client API advertised address.
It is the controller's advertised address. So this is the web API section. Go up.
Edge
Edge
API.
API. Edge API. Keep saying web.
Right.
So yeah, the address. This is what controls the issuer of the JWT. So if we go
Right.
back to that JWT and we see this issuer field here, you can see this was generated because we had this name in the address block.
Right.
And then if I give you an identity, it'll show up as EC2 whatever. But
Yeah.
imagine you're an integrator and you're giving this to many of your clients. You want it to say Clint.ZD, right? Or whatever. In this
Right.
case, we wanted to say ZDTV. So I'm going to change this
This
whole
has to
thing.
be, this is an address that must be reachable by the bearer of the enrollment token.
I don't know what the bearer of an enrollment, the person
Person
who
in
has it.
possession, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And
because
this
it is a bearer
person
token.
person is such a
Yeah.
the device, the process, because like person's not going to use that bearer token. Right, controller.zdtv.demo.openzd.org 941.
It messed up your indentation.
Thank you. I don't know how to control that. I'm not a VI expert. All right, so now I stop controller, controller, edge, delete, identity, Bob.
So now you purposefully broken it, right? Because now
I
you're
have
now the,
I have changed the. Let me log in again. I have changed the address that identities will see when they
well, the
when
next
they
time you
are
create an identity, you'll get a different issuer URL.
right, right. So it's changing the URL that the identity is to connect to in order to verify the identity during that enrollment process. cdtv.demo.openzd.org 9441. It was refused. Curl local host 9441. Start. Oh, didn't start, did it? Start controller. Let's look at the log. Oh, so when you are, let me break it. I know what it is, but look, when you are changing the address, so here it says the controller failed to start because the bind point couldn't find a match for the address that you told it to use as its advertised address. So I've got to, even though I edited it in one location, I have to actually edit it in two locations.
So the web listener also has. I see. Okay, so it's just like a sanity check built into the controller's startup
Right.
routine to make sure that there's at least one bind point address that matches. Well, I suppose there must be exactly one bind point that matches the advertised address.
Not exactly one, actually, because the address that you specify in the bind points has to map to the one that is specified in the outer part, because this is what's going to be advertised. And so I remember it might be going at least one would be how I would put it, not exactly one, because you can have the edge on one API and the control plane on another in here, or there's also fabric and let me show you what I mean here. It'll be easier if I just we just look at control.gtv. That looks right. We go down and we look at the APIs that are provided on a particular bind point. You can have Fabric, Edge Client, Edge Management. So it's saying you need to have a mapping for this address. One of these entries has to be in here. Does that make sense? Because
Yeah,
you can split this three different times, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
or
We
even
start.
more because there's the Prometheus listener as well.
Well, it's not shown by default, but I take your point. Right. So now let's
Yeah,
do
there's a few. You like the
now.
metrics and WebSocket stuff.
Hey, now we can log in, and now we can do a ZD Edge delete identity Bob, and now okay, now we can create Bob again. Create Bob. We can cat Bob. This is usually why UI a VI because it doesn't do that end line. Oh. And now we can see that the issuer is ZDTV, and so now ZD Edge enroll Bob. Now you'll get this when you try to enroll Bob because the issuer doesn't match.
Token signature is invalid. There's the crucial bits. Okay.
Yeah.
Right,
And
and that's
so Ken,
because the issuer URL that the 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 possessor of the token is going to is encountering a TLS server certificate. That certificate has a public key, and it's trying to verify the signature on the JWT from that pub key. But the pub key that they're getting is the one from Let's Encrypt, wildcard cert, selected by SNI, but that is not the key. That the corresponding private key is not the one that signed the JWT. So that's where
and
you get
that's
the mismatch.
and that is the key. No pun intended. Yep. So
So how do we
let's
tell the controller to sign JWTs with the same private key for the certificate that it's actually going to advertise
yep,
to enrolling
that
clients?
is the final step of our ZDTV. So what we need to do, and I'm going to just replace them. The important part is these are alternate certs, right? They're not use this cert, they're the
Right.
alternate certs. So I'm actually going to go down to that same Edge API section. I'm going to change just this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange which one is considered the alternate and which one is considered the authoritative one, right? So I'm going to use the private key as the
You're
key
in the web
field,
listener section now?
Edge. Yeah, so Edge identity, Edge API identity. So, okay, no, that's why there is web. All right, now I can see why I continue to get confused. Yes, I'm in the web section. I thought it was Edge before, but not. There
I
are
spent a
there are
minute spelunking around in this config.
there are.
So
I keep forgetting there are two addresses, and one's in web and one's in Edge. It's easy to get lost in here. So yeah, I'm in the web. Name is client management bind points section, and that's what I'm doing now. And so I've copied the key, and I'm going to use the key for my from Let's Encrypt as the key that I want. And I'm going to, instead of the private key from Let's Encrypt for the alternate, come on, stop going too far. There we go. I'm going to just flop them around. And so the server cert we're going to put here. Where is the, okay, insert paste this. It's on the buffer. Let's get the dollar sign. Dollar sign.
So it occurs to me you don't have this problem if you happen to use the same private key for both.
You wouldn't. So that's actually an interesting. Like we could maybe go further on that one because now we're getting in the open Ziti like 301 land if we actually tried to go down that path. But I like it.
I mean, they're both server certs on the same box. The private key hasn't moved, so you haven't increased the risk anywhere. It just makes it's one more thing that you have to know to do. If there was a compromise, you'd have to rotate it. But it's the same amount of exposure for both keys, so it might as well be the same key.
Same amount of exposure. Yeah. The difference is right now when you run the quick start. So we had a question: why is the quick start considered opinionated? Because it does not allow you to specify the private key that you will begin your journey from. Right. So nor does it let you specify it anywhere along the path. And so if we wanted to, we could certainly create a server certificate that is from the same key that Let's Encrypt gave us, but for the EC2 name instead of Let's Encrypt. And then it's actually another way to go about doing this. That would work just fine. So I did change the let's go back over here. I just want to make sure it's still valid. Yeah. I did change the settings as we talked about. I'm going to go back and look at it and make sure that they're still the same. However, apparently changing this is insufficient because it's still signed by the wrong key.
So
Okay.
in the web section, you've reversed the server cert and key for the alt and default.
Yep.
Yeah, that should be the server key that the controller is using to sign the JWT.
It is. Or maybe it's not. I thought it was. I thought it was working there, but it then failed. Now it's telling me that it failed certificate signed by an unknown authority. Interesting. I wonder if I need to go back and change them in both sections. I'm going to continue this journey. I haven't actually, obviously, this is a working session. I haven't actually tried this yet. I thought that would be sufficient to just change those two sections. Actually, I should be able to just copy this whole entire section.
That's on 9441.
Yep.
You must have stopped the controller.
I did real quick.
Yeah. I was going to grab the pub key from both and see if I could verify which one I could verify it with.
Well,
Can
it's
you
still up
can
there.
you
It's still.
can you post the JWT or send me one?
Where are we going to put that?
Mattermost.
Private channel. I don't have it open because I don't want to be bothered during the.
Okay, private channel's fine. I got it.
Yep. There you go. I'm going to go look at it at the same time. And JWT.io. It's going to the right place. I just wanted to make sure that was the case. It's got an invalid signature though. So what did I goof up in here? It was correctly. Key is the private key. Chain is the chain. I did that correctly. Huh. The keyboard is clicky.
Yeah, it is. If I could go back in time, I would get a quieter one.
Did I not include the? Did that right? Let's see. Key is the key. Insert is insert. Yeah, I would have thought that this would have been the right combination here. Like I know that we had it. I had it working based on the discourse post. I was pretty sure this is what I did. Okay, that's all right. What are you working on over there, Ken? What are you trying to do?
I was trying to do the verification, the RS-256 verification of the JWT using the pub key from both certificates
That sounds fun. Do
to
you want
see
to
which
share?
one. Oh yeah, sure. I haven't got it figured out yet. I was trying to remember the syntax, but we can do it. I thought that might point to the problem, since it seems like we're not able to verify. Hang on, let me juggle windows for a second.
Yeah, I'm surprised that that didn't work for me. I thought for sure that was what I needed to do. Bring Ken's screen on, hide mine. If you can make it just a tiny bit, there you go.
So I was going to use a Python one-liner to try to verify.
One liner in quotes.
Yeah, here it is.
No, my point is there's multiple lines in there.
How correct you are. So I've got the JWT in this variable. Maybe I didn't have it quoted. Maybe that was the issue. But I'm not sure what the correct format is for the pub key. Oh, yeah, Python indentation. Duh. Let's correct that real quick. Here's the pub key I got from the Let's Encrypt certificate.
Looks like a EC2 key or EC2.
But I did this and parsed out the pub key from the server cert.
Okay. 9441. That's the one that it'll connect to. It's the one that comes from the issuer.
And then I did this to get the other one.
Actually, what comes back from that one? Since you don't specify the SNI, I think it would
Oh
be
wait,
non.
they're identical.
Yeah, I was gonna say it'll probably be non-deterministic. You know what I mean? Let me give you the external DNS entry, and then you can put that in there instead.
Oh, I see. That's the default now. That's what it is.
There you go. I gave you the other address name.
There we go. I'll get the correct pub key over there and this guy. There we go. Now we've got both. So I need to know I need to know what the right format to put my verify statement in this. My argument equals key, so I need to look at the
You probably have to specify the algorithm too,
JWT
right? Like
decode. Yeah,
whether
I'm
it's
doing that.
whether it's a RSA or elliptical curve key. Is that necessary? Like, is
I
it
haven't had to
assuming?
do that in the past. Let me see.
I assume one is the default.
So the key is a string. Okay. Do I need to maybe base 64 encode it?
I would not expect you to. I would imagine it expects it to be in PEM format.
This is what it looks like right now. But this is my
Would-
first argument,
Yeah.
the JWT, and then the
Yeah,
second argument
I think
is
the algorithm.
decoded.
No, it's not algorithm. Yeah. Are they both? Is the JWT RS 256 or whatever that is? ES 256.
It's saying
The algorithm
the
is
JWT has
ES.
not enough.
The algorithm is ES 256.
Really?
Yep.
That's new. I've definitely
No,
verified.
look at the JWT.
Okay.
If you snip out the first segment of the JWT and look at it, decode it as base 64.
Did you verify false?
Yeah. Now just snip out the first section of that and pass it to base 64 minus D.
It's the first section.
To the first period. Yeah.
Oh, is that a recent change? Because I've been.
Nope. That's how JWTs are structured. So the first segment of the JWT is the header information, and it tells you the algorithm right there. And then the second is the payload, and the third is the signature.
I've verified JWTs generated by our software in the past with
That's
RS-256.
because by default they're using an RSA key, but this one's using an EC key.
I see. Cool. Very good. ES.
256. Yep.
So there's still a problem with just parsing that JWT. See, the decode function is saying not enough segments.
That means there's not enough periods in it, but there look to be enough periods to me. Let's see. One period, two periods. There's only two periods in that.
Oh, this is a copy paste fail because the private chat somehow didn't give me the whole value. That's all it
Come
is.
on, really?
Yeah.
That is
I'm looking
insane.
at it. I'm looking at it in the chat where you sent it, and
Yeah.
I've got the right value from there. It's like it swallowed part of it.
I mean,
Or
in
maybe
the
there was a clipboard
no,
failure.
that is very interesting. Let me look at maybe I didn't copy and paste it. Maybe
Because I've
that's
only got
so.
one period in that value.
You
Yeah.
you definitely only have one period in there. That is so funny. Where is? Let's see.
I know
This
you
is
really
Bob.
want me to succeed, Clint.
It was a test, Ken. It was. I'm trying to go to Mattermost, but Mattermost is not opening for me. I don't know if I turned something off or on or whatever. I'm trying to open
Clint does
Mattermost
not
again.
simply turn on Mattermost on a Friday.
I have to log in. That's what's going on. Oh, I've opened the I opened the wrong Mattermost. No wonder why.
Like, where
All
are all
right.
my tabs
Yeah, I
and
opened up
people?
I opened no, I opened let's see, where's Ken? I opened browsermost by mistake.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. I sent it to you that way.
Okay. Looking for it. Maybe I'm having a trouble now because I don't see any messages in Mattermost. I'll do a
Interesting.
refresh.
I will just send you each individual segment in this private chat.
Oh no.
That's the final section. Oh, never mind. I should do them one of the. Jeez, what a pain. How do I'm going to email you this? I don't know.
I did a
This
reload
is.
and now I have it.
Oh, okay. As I said, this session is falling off the rails real fast here. Nothing like a good live debug
Hey,
session.
oh, clean. There we go. I've got a valid JWT now.
Hey, all right. Now let's see what happens.
All right,
Can
so now
you?
we want to do a verify. True. We probably don't need the base 64 encoded this. This was just an experiment. We'll try the let's encrypt specific algorithm. I got the wrong algorithm in there. It should be ES. Oops. There we go. Invalid audience.
Well, that's interesting. What is the audience is like? Is empty, I believe. Yeah, the audience is simply empty.
Yep. All right. So I guess we'll try it with the other pub key.
Well, I mean, if it's saying invalid audience, that seems like it's not going to work. Regardless, you have to somehow. Yeah,
That's got the wrong. Oh,
now you're
that's
gonna do
the.
RS.
Oh, right. Okay. Because that would have been a different.
Yeah, but it's not
Yeah.
gonna. Yeah, and then it's gonna give you something different that says, "Hey, you're using a different key or a different algorithm." So it seems to me like the first one that you did with the EC or ES, it seems like it decoded it correctly, but it told you that the audience is incorrect. So you need to know
Right.
how to suppress the audience verification. JWT, when you're verifying a JWT, it's strict when the audience is necessary for a proper, quote unquote, proper validation. The JWT is meant for someone, and so it's the audience is supposed to be filled in with who it's meant to be for.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, how do you suppress in Python? How do you suppress the audience from being verified? So now this ChatGPT, you'll know this answer.
Oh.
In Python, how do I suppress HTTP RESS, the JWT verification from verifying the audience. Let's see what happens. Verify odd equals false. It's in decode options, if it's actually correct. Can you do your little man and look for decode underscore options? PyDoc. Yeah, I don't see it in there. Options right there. Optional dict. So it's verify odd is false. Let me send that to you, and we'll see what happens.
Like this?
Yep. Does it need a comma? Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, verify true, verify audience false. That worked. So it's
There you go.
it's definitely signed with the Let's Encrypt private key, the same private
Okay.
key used for the Let's Encrypt certificate.
Oh, that's good to know. So does that mean maybe that this is a Z? So can you try enrolling that JWT?
Sure.
And then we're going to try using ZD as tone to do it. See if one of them will work and one of them doesn't. Perhaps the Go CLI won't do it. Oh, do you have to? Is there a flag? Key algo. There is an algorithm that you can pass.
Failed to verify certificate, unknown authority. So that's telling me that during enrollment, the trust anchor bundle that it got back did not contain the explicit trust for Let's Encrypt certificate, even though it's publicly verifiable, enrollment does not fall back to OS trust store.
That's right, and that's by default too. That is not by default, but I mean.
So we would have to put the issuer certificate, including the root, all the way to the root. We'd have to put a complete trust chain in the trust anchor bundle that's configured in the controller.
Yep. So let's look at the YAML, and we'll get the full chain PEM. I don't think we did the full chain. I think we just need the root. You know what I mean?
The way it is right now, but future ZD is going to require a full chain.
Yeah, but you can see I'm already supplying the full chain as the server certificate. Like if you look at the server certificates returned from the server, I expect it is the full chain up to the root. Like I expect that's what's happening right now. But what we have to do is we have to find the ISG1, the Let's Encrypt certificate. Where is my? I have this somewhere. I'm trying to find where I kept it.
Right now, the server is presenting. That's strange. Oh, I went to the wrong one. TTRL.zbt. You're saying it should be the full chain for the Let's Encrypt certificate.
So where are you at? I'm gonna replace. Nope, not replace. How do I? Come on, make Ken's the star of the show here. Oh, it's like this. That's how we do it. All right. Yeah. What's that root? XSG. Yeah, right there. ISRG.
So the subject of this is root X1, but it has an issuer X3, and we don't have the X3. This is not a full chain. This has leaf issued by X1 and X1 issued by X3, and we don't have X3.
Oh, it's X3 that needs to be?
Yeah, it says the intermediate X1 is issued by root X3, but we don't have that cert. And that's normal. That's fine. That's the full chain. I guess it's not a full chain. It's kind of a misnomer, right? If they're they're prescribing a file name full chain.pem. It's not really a full chain. It's just it's the full chain that the server should be presenting.
Yeah.
The server should not be presenting the root, although it doesn't. I guess it doesn't hurt anything if it does. It just doesn't serve any purpose.
And you're sure it was X3? Like, can you show me one more time where the
Yeah, if we go to the highest index in the chain that's presented
yeah,
by the server.
there it is, DST root CAX3, that one. And what you'll find if you go out there and look, it is a cross-signed root CA. So there is a older one and a newer one, and you also need to be sure that you get the correct newer one as well. That was another issue I had at one point.
But for enrollment to work, because enrollment does not trust the operating system trust store, we need to duplicate the rest of the chain from all the way from the leaf to the root in our trust anchor bundle.
Yeah. But what we need to do is we need to get the ISRG root X1 certificate, cat it onto the CA PEM, and then restart
Yep.
it.
Yeah, we have that one here.
That one? Which one's that one?
So this says subject is X1, ISRG X1, and this says issuer is X1. Yeah, so we have 3 certs here. The subject is the leaf, and then the subject is R3, so we need that one, and we also need X1, and then we need X3. We need all 3 of those in our trust anchors in order to complete the chain. If our goal is to have a full chain, which is future proof, if our goal is to have,
but which of the I don't know what we're looking at here. I was doing something else. Did you get these certificates from the CA bundle or from the
no,
server port?
Here's how I got them. These are presented by
Yeah,
the server.
right.
So this is the partial chain. This is from the file name full chain, but it's really a partial chain minus the root.
Yeah, right. And so the question is, does Let's Encrypt have that
Either that or
certificate?
the controller is artificially truncating the chain so that it doesn't present the root.
And then this is we're looking for certificates. What was the root certificate again? Like, it's got funny names. I can't never remember if it's R3 or X3 or ISG or whatever.
It
What it,
is dest root CAX3 is the common name.
all right. Wherever that DST root CAX3.
But I don't like doing this. I don't like putting those in our trust anchor bundle because now we're trusting those CAs to issue any certificate for any purpose within the Ziti Edge.
No, we're not. We are only putting this root CA into our trusted CA anchor chain because we specifically are saying that we need to trust anything that comes through that. But the only ones that will be valid for Ziti will be the ones that are signed by the CA by the CA that we've told to be signed for. So this is just verifying the trust chain that the server presents. It's nothing more. Right?
This trust anchor bundle that where we're adding the Let's Encrypt issuer certs is used it is propagated to routers and identities at the time of their edge enrollment or renewal. And yeah, so if we add a certificate there for identity enrollment, it's also going to appear in the router trust anchors, meaning that they will accept connections at least from any certificate issued by those CAs.
No.
I'm thinking about edge cases again. It's probably not worth exploring. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's worth exploring, but that they won't accept anything that's from any certificate. It has to specifically come from the PKI that is expressed here, right? So I don't think it's any certificate. Like if somebody were to mint a Let's Encrypt certificate and present it back to the Ziti overlay, you would have to create a router first, and then in fact, it doesn't matter because you can't, because a router will present or create its own certificate, and the act of creating a router will generate a CSR, and then enrolling that router will produce the whole other certificate anyway. So that it has to come from the signing certificate that is configured in this file. What I mean? So like this cert will sign the certificate for the router.
Yes, but the router's own server ports, where it listens for transport links and for edge connections, those APIs or protobufs do not accept connections except from clients who present a certificate that is from any CA in their Trust Anchor bundle. So if we add Let's Encrypt into the Trust Anchor bundle and it propagates to a router, either through enrollment or auto renewal, then they will trust any certificate from the same chain.
I see. So the concern, the potential attack would be a router listening on a port on the underlay, and then some other uh, certificate from Let's Encrypt, say, is presented to that particular port, which allows it to actually even communicate. It's not
Yes,
authenticated,
and we
but it
don't
allows it.
and we don't discriminate based on the usage flags in the certificate. So I could actually present a server certificate as a client certificate and get away with this.
I think you should try it.
Let's do it.
Oh, not right now. I want to make it work first. That's
Okay.
the let's. I was trying to find the not this. I want to go to the top. Go to the top.
What's your
I
router
wanted
port?
8440 or
Okay.
9440 in this case.
9440. Okay.
Yeah. I wanted not at the top. Oh, I screwed up the CA chain. Oh, look. I also screwed this up, Ken. When I copied the block, the CA
Mhm.
block was incorrect. I don't think it matters, but
You're in the
I
you're in the root identity section, the CA. Yeah, that's the Trust Anchor. That's the magic Trust Anchor bundle directive
right.
right there. What got screwed up?
I when I let me add this to the PEM. Stop controller. Let me just see if this fixes my enrollment. Edge enroll Bob. There it goes.
What's the
Oh,
domain name of your router?
same one. Control. You can call it ER dot instead of controller dot, but it's the same. It's a wildcard, so it'll work for both. Or you can use the external address, whichever you like. So what I was saying before, though, Ken, is this right here. If you look at this, I had copied this block from the edge block up to the root, and when I
Oh
did
yeah.
that, I forgot to change the CA
Hmm.
block back again. That's
Oh, I
all.
see. I got you.
That's all.
Okay.
So I have now. Can you try to? Well, actually, I just burned that JWT. I just enrolled Bob. So that was the last piece of our puzzle. We had to add the Let's Encrypt root CA onto our well-known CA bundle. And so I did that. I'm gonna copy these commands because I'm gonna go tell the fella in discourse that these were necessary. And now I should be able to make a ZD edge create identity bob2 dash o bob2 ZD edge enroll bob2. And there we go. All right, cool. So that I think that's going to complete our ZDTV today, Ken. What do you think? I think we've done a
Alrighty.
good job.
Yeah,
If
I
you
think
want
that's
to,
good.
I can leave this running if you want to try to get a server certificate and present it and connect to the router. I'm sure the router is going to reject the connection because the fingerprint won't be valid. You know, it's
The fingerprint.
like it's not going to be in a known. You don't think we verify that the presented certificate is a known value?
I think we verify that the presented certificate is from any CA that is
Yeah.
in the trust anchor bundle, which is propagated from the controller. So I think I can at least begin attacking the
Oh,
interface directly. I think I can get past the TLS barrier and attack the protocol if I can get a certificate from Let's Encrypt,
so let's do this then, because last
specifically a server certificate, because I don't even think I can get a client certificate from Let's Encrypt.
let's do this. One more thing we can do then is we'll call this Edge PEM, and then I'll go through and I'll remove the last certificate I added to this chain, because that is the Let's Encrypt certificate. So if I do that and then stop controller and start controller, and then do a ZD edge delete identity Bob 2, Bob 1, I don't know, Bob 1, Bob 2, Bob 3, I don't know how many Bobs I have. I'll create Bob 3, ZD edge, and roll Bob 3. This should fail with a can't verify server certificate, right? So now if I go back and I just change the web section, I'm going to go down to that web section that we were looking at before, where the identity block is, where this CA field is specified, and I'm going to add this in, because maybe the answer is to simply not put it in the root section, but keep it in this section down here, the edge section. And then
Yeah, I think we did. I think we did discover, but see, the result is that they're all aggregated. So all of the CA properties from all identity
oh, really?
blocks are aggregated into a trust anchor bundle that is then propagated to both identities and routers. If I remember correctly, that's the problem. Is that it's a generic bucket of trust anchors instead of being for a particular purpose.
Hmm.
So we can't put a third party CA in there, if I'm right.
It looks like you can't, like that the CA. Oh, actually, one more thing. I screwed up the CA to use. It's supposed to be edge. Nice. That's not what I wanted. Right. On. Okay. So I have verified that I can add it just to the edge section. And so now you're going to keep fooling around and see if you can at least attack the router port based on the fact that you think this CA is not trusted.
So the sequence of things that I'll need to do is I'll need to discover the server listener for the router so that I can see a before and after. The before is I'll be able to get a server certificate, but I wouldn't be able to authenticate with a client certificate and see like the protocol banner or greeting, whatever it presents. I wouldn't be able to get past TLS. And then after I have a server certificate from the same CA, it would have to be the same CA that you got your Let's Encrypt certificate from, which I don't know what my chances are. There might be a roll of the dice,
I
or
mean,
might have
I,
to
I
direct
can
my
just
protocol a certain way.
I can give you the one that I have right here.
Well, that'll save some time. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was just figuring out how to set up a DNS solver to get one.
yeah, I can get you the key and the cert that I used in here, and
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that'll solve that particular problem. All right. Well, I think then we're already at like an hour and a half, so I think we're going to call this a ZDTV. I think this was a fun one.
Alrighty.
I'm going to get you the certificates, and you can try it out and see, can you actually get to the control, the
The
router,
router.
at
Yeah.
least get to the protocol where the protocol starts to, allow you to see it,
Should
get
work on
past TLS.
the CTRL endpoint as well
CT. Oh yeah, right,
on
right.
the controller. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, cool. Well, that'll be fun. All right.
Maybe.
All right. Well, I think that's a fun little ZDTV. I've enjoyed it, Ken. Thanks again, and we'll we'll see you next time.